Hey, welcome back to the podcast. We're here with Jake Hurwitz, and he is the founder of Thursday Labs. They are a studio that specializes in various aspects of digital content creation and marketing. They excel in all sorts of things like impactful websites, lead pages, high quality video, podcast content, managing blogs, newsletters, and high volumes of content, which enables them to get valuable insights into which styles, channels, and hooks are effectively driving conversion. Sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a lot of moving parts and strategy and big, important decisions to be made. So, Jake, glad to be talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Definitely a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of moving parts. You nailed it.
Yeah, but that's good, right? You're a business owner. You're an entrepreneur. You solve those hard problems, and people out there, I'm sure they've been frustrated with this whole idea of finding time all the time to write that blog post and wasting 2 weeks on one blog post. Or maybe they filmed a couple of videos, but that was like 5 years ago and they have like 10 views each, and it's time for them to do things better. And so where are people missing the mark with all this content creation, and how is you and your company better?
Yeah, I think that there's a couple pieces here. One thing I say a lot is like content for content's sake, those days are over. Every company's like, yeah, we got to produce content. We got to produce content. That's what we hear, right? But why, right? Well, really, the point at the end of the day is to drive revenue. So what I think most companies are getting wrong, or even not even thinking about, is to work backwards. How do we first identify like who are our ideal customers? How are we going to get them to buy our product or pay for our service? And then work all the way backwards to what type of content do they need to see and hear? Where are they going to need to see and hear it? How are we going to get their attention with it, and use that to then create a funnel, get them to the top of the funnel, then use more content to move them through the funnel, and then use more content to get them to close the end of the funnel. And then ultimately you make revenue. And so I think most people out there are looking at content, quote unquote, as like a Zoom recording and putting it on LinkedIn and being like, where are our sales? Well, it's not a full strategy. It's just, you barely even filled the funnel with that. This is a much deeper, more scientific, data-backed approach to just putting videos on TikTok or LinkedIn.
I like your thought process that you're saying that many people have this disconnect. They think like, I'll just make some videos and then magically the sales will come in. But you say, well, there's a strategy to it, and it involves working backwards and saying, well, who are my buyers? Who are my customers now? And what information do they need? And what would they have need? What video on whatever platform when they have needed to see right before they bought? And in order to see that, what ad or what YouTube or what short or something would they have needed to see before that? And you kind of work backwards and figure out that path to move them forward. And so it's really easy to get geeky and get into the weeds, but we're on a podcast, so it's more fun for me to talk about stories and talk about kind of the high level. So what sorts of stories do you have to share with us about this sort of process where like some client came to you and said, we don't know what we're doing with content marketing, need it cleaned up, and then you and your team did a great job? What do you have?
Yeah, actually, one that I'm really deep on right now is it's relevant time-wise. It's also, I think, a really good example of the model and how it's working is a client that I started with in March. We met, I want to say end of January, early February. I met the CEO at a networking event, and they're in the events, ticketing, and nightlife space, a good competitor to Eventbrite or Partiful or Luma or any of those, even Ticketmaster in some capacity. And they were like, well, we just hired a VP of marketing who was a lot of money. I mean, they were like deep six-figure salary. We wanted to raise the $10 million Series A round, but the market crashed. So we settled with like a $5-ish million seed extension round. Call it seed extension, right? Because you don't want the down round when it comes to Series A. And this marketer that we hired was not willing to roll up their sleeves and actually create anything. They wanted to go build the whole team of social media people and content creators and marketing managers to be the ones to actually produce the ads, actually create the content, actually post on social. And so we let him go. And that's what the client told me. I was like, damn, all right, that's interesting. So we came in and we're like, all right, well, you've got, first off, a couple of different target personas. Like they're wildly different from each other, but they're all somewhere within the event space. And we don't know yet which one of them is ideal to double and triple down on, or which combination of them. And then we also don't know exactly how to talk to each of them on each channel. Because let's say it's somebody who hosts music festivals as a full-time job and they sell 20,000 tickets. Well, we might want to talk to them on LinkedIn and Twitter and email, Whereas somebody who is just starting to host happy hours for them and their friends and maybe charge a few bucks on the weekends, very different persona. We might talk to them on TikTok and Instagram. But both at the end of the day are customers for us, and we need to learn, okay, how exactly are we going to talk to each of them on each channel? When are we going to try to talk to each of them? How many times do we need to hit them with various pieces of content on those channels in order to get them to convert or even move through a funnel at all? And we're going to have wildly different funnels for each of them. So what they could have done was just like gone out and talked to 1 million of those people to ask those questions, but like consumers don't know and they're not interested in the conversation, and like they just say they want a faster horse, but we need to build them a car, right? So instead I thought, let's do this backwards. Let's work backwards. Let's produce an enormous volume of really, really high quality video content, which is basically kind of like what we're doing, like podcast style content, but we set up lots of cameras and mics and lighting. Like the film crew has won Emmy awards, so it's not a joke. And then we produce a podcast. We cut out a bunch of short little clips and edit those with lots of transitions and dynamic graphics and subtitles and everything to catch people's attention. So every 45-minute episode, we'll get 8 to 12 short clips from that episode. And then we'll turn all those short clips into blog posts and email newsletters and tweet threads and LinkedIn posts and Instagram stories and Instagram posts, and they'll go on YouTube shorts. And you get the idea. One podcast episode, 45-minute episode, turns into 50 pieces of content across 10 channels. So we produce all of that in-house for them. We do all the booking, we do all the scheduling. So basically they're just like, let's get these 5 people as our guests, these 12 people as our guests. These are the people that our customers look up to, and I take care of the rest with my team. So then we manage their social channels, we manage their blog, we manage their newsletter, and we do this for about 6 months. And so now we've been running it for about 3 months, and we're already seeing dead leads that were in the funnel come back into existence. Because they're like, whoa, I saw that video. Like, I'd like to buy your product now. We're seeing old investors who ghosted them come back into existence. We're seeing a massive lift in just general sales revenue because people are seeing the content and clicking through to the platform and like joining an event or hosting an event. So huge month over month growth out of the gates. And the coolest part about it is, while growth is important, what we're really after, though, is all the learnings on each channel. So I can turn around after 3 or 6 months and say, this is exactly how we talk to people on TikTok. This is exactly how we're going to talk to people at stage 3 in the funnel when it's this persona via email. So now when it's time to actually put some serious marketing dollars behind it, we know exactly how to spend the money, because if we're like, you know what, we want to dial it up with this persona this month, we know exactly how to talk to them on this channel. We just put a little more money there. We're going to dial it up with that persona next month. It's on a different channel. We just put a little more money there. That's about having the sustainable growth playbook. And very, very few companies have that. That's what we build.
I love that. I mean, I love your thought process and your passion for all this. As you said, so many companies only have a piece of this or don't have this as well thought through. And so there's so many cool things about your process there. One is, as you said, that whole Henry Ford thing of, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And instead of doing like something cheesy or weird, like a survey or guessing, you're looking at the actual data, do these little tests, and then you know what kind of data to repeat. And I love how you do this podcasting thing, but with the many cameras, so it looks good. And so that way you can record it and it's genuine and it's with your client and their influencers. And then you can cut up those pieces and use it in other directions. That way you're not having to start from scratch all the time. You're not having to like replicate all your efforts in different mediums. It involves them. There's so much cool stuff about that. And then you just put in that limited amount of time, those few minutes or hours recording the videos, and then you use it in all those other places. And then you then look at the data, and then based on, you say, well, there's these personas and we think they hang out here and they think they want to know about this. And we think that it's this time of day. You try out those things and then you see if you're right or not, or if you need to adjust. And then based on having gone through all that, you say, okay, now we're at kind of this landmark. And then now we can say, well, now we want to dial up this or that. But instead of having to waste time or waste money, you kind of gone through your educated guesses and kind of implemented a plan and then said, okay, now we're kind of working in a more scientific way instead of guessing or instead of just using one piece of the puzzle. And so you've got this really cool system and you got these really cool clients that you help out. And where have you seen your clients like mess up? Like where has been the drama or the struggle or the butting heads in order to get all these pieces in place?
Yeah, one of the biggest things is I get it. It's just like the zeitgeist and the mindset, especially for startups, and that's who we focus on. Everybody believes that the best way to grow and the fastest way to grow is through ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads, even TikTok ads, and Google ads. What I think most founders need to understand, and I was a founder, I am a founder, but I've been a tech founder before. I was in venture capital for about 5 years, 6 years, so kind of saw the industry from a few different angles. The companies, the funds, that is, that funded Facebook and Twitter and Amazon, they're the same big funds that are funding these startups. And so when they say to the startups, invest in Facebook ads and Twitter ads and Instagram ads, grow at all costs. Well, 50 cents of every dollar that they're spending for marketing is just going into the hands of Facebook and Amazon and Google, which are owned by the same investors. Think about that. So
now it's like, who's investing in who, right?
Right. So the investors know, like, all right, if all of my portfolio companies that are the startups are going to be paying my other portfolio company, who is the gigantic ad buyer here, which is Facebook, then I'm still going to get rich. So all these founders are in the mindset of like, well, you grow by investing in ads. Well, sure, that was a thing for a while. Like it worked for a decent amount of time, but now CPM is through the roof. There's more saturation and noise than ever before. Every day there's a new launch and a new product. Everyone's a founder. I can search for literally any problem I have in my life. My socks are smelly. I need better socks. My shoes don't last that long. I need better shoes. My shirts are too small for me. I need better shirts. Or I need a new app for this or that. There's a million, every single product is solved with 100 startups now. So how are you going to break through the noise? Are you really just going to keep investing in ads like everybody else so that all the consumers just see your ads? You really think your ads are going to be better than all the other startups out there? Slightly marginally better, that you're going to catch people's attention through that? So I'm like, that's fine. We're not going to play that game. We're going to play our own game. We're going to create really, really high quality organic content that captivates people for 10 minutes, 20 minutes with our short films, with our interviews, our docuseries. I take a page out of Patagonia's book and Yeti Cooler's book. Like they're never putting out, you're rarely seeing little ads from them on Instagram for like, buy our new vest or buy our new cooler. Because no one cares. No one's looking at that. No one's stopping at that. They're skipping past that. Instead, they're putting out short films on YouTube that are 15 minutes long or 12 minutes long of the lifestyle of a fly fisherman or a mountaineering person using their product. They're not pushing their product. They're just telling great stories. They're not selling the product. They're selling the lifestyle that their product enables. And so we do that. And I'm like, sure, we could put out some ads here and there. It's good to test general conversion rate, but that is not where serious growth and long-term loyalty and sustainability is going to come from.
I love that you're selling the lifestyle. And I mean, it's like copywriting 101, right? But it's easy to forget that it's not about the features, it's about the benefits and about what that gets you and what that gets you and then what that lifestyle leads to. And so it sounds like you have a lot of fun with this company, you're growing. What's next for you? What's kind of got you excited about the future?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that's next is starting to now just like infinitely scale is the best way to put it. The last couple, I've been running this agency for 10 years. The first 4, I was all in on it. And then the last 6 years, it was a part-time thing for me. And I used to have a team that would do projects on the side, but now I'm full-time with it again. And as of the last 6 months, I have been just focused on 2 clients, really building the playbook, really figuring out like in this market with this model, how are we going to scale the business? And now it's time to scale. The playbook is built. So I'm out basically taking on not every project, but as many projects that are the right fit as possible, trying to just help as many startups as we can stand out. We seek to really only work with 1 startup per industry at a time. So I'm not working with 3 fintech companies that are all competing with each other. That would be dangerous. So what's really next is trying to pick the right company in each industry for my team and I to focus on.
Awesome. I can tell that a lot of what you do is really thought out over long periods of time. Many times you make the hard decisions. You say no to a lot of things as opposed to just putting out fires day to day, which, as you know, it's easy to fall into that trap. So with all of your strategizing and your trial and error and your mistakes and your successes, has anything surprised you these last couple of years, either with your own journey or your company? Like, what are the surprises?
Oh, man. we're gonna need a lot more than 20 minutes to talk about those. There are a lot of fires. There are always fires. I think one of the biggest surprises is how long-term this game is. I'm not even 30 yet. I'm close to 30. And in the early half and, most of my 20s so far, I'd expect, and it just didn't even cross my mind that this real success, the real numbers we're going for here, which are not, 6 figures. It's much more than that. It's 8 figures. It's 9 figures. This stuff doesn't happen in 3 years. It doesn't even really happen in 5 to 7 years. And so in the early days, you kind of just say yes to everything and you're like, I'm going to figure everything out, but you end up costing yourself more than you're making because of, opportunity cost and stress and like time suck and just drained of energy and things like that. And so I think one of the biggest surprises is like, it's 2-part. One part is, it's a very long-term game, and align myself with long-term clients and long-term team and long-term partners that I can genuinely see myself wanting to work with for the next 20 years, not just the next 6 months or 2 years. And when you have that mindset, like everything works better. And then the other is that it's fun. Like this should be fun. Sure, it's work here and there, but like we should be hosting events for our clients that are like we genuinely enjoy doing. We should be creating campaigns that we genuinely believe are cool and awesome. And like we would buy that product and we would fall for that campaign. There have been so many things in the past, especially in venture capital and startup world, that we work on, and we're just like, this is going to convert, this is going to make money, do that. But do we really enjoy it at the end of the day? And the funny thing is that when we're not thinking so much about like, is this going to make us the most money, or is this going to move the needle by an extra 0.2% over that one? But we're rather thinking of it through the mindset of like, this is going to really change the game. This is going to really stand out, and we're going to really enjoy the process of doing this. It ends up making more money and being more successful anyway. As you can tell, you put your soul into it. That was a big surprise. And so now just being like the gut check of like, is this going to be fun for us? Yes or no? And that's one of the mechanisms in which we make decisions off of. This is going to be fun.
That's super cool. And especially because you're tapped into something that fun and work are not mutually exclusive, right? That you can do something that's work and it's hard and you get frustrated, you hit a wall, you have to solve some kind of problem, but it's fun the whole way. And especially when you solve that problem and you get to the next milestone and you get to, and that takes you over to the next path. And when you work with a team and you just get the fulfillment at the end. And you've also tapped into this idea of the long-termness of it and how important the connections you make are and the relationships you make and the talent and the team that you build, that it might seem like a waste in like year 3, but then it might pay off later on in year 7 and 8 when you pick up some skills or make some mistakes that then pay off later on. And so you're on quite a journey here. And also, you know what, you also mentioned that whole idea of when at first you try a lot of things, right? Because there's always what you think the future might look like or what success might look like to you, but you don't really know until you've kind of tried the different possibilities, and you can kind of work from the data as opposed to just saying, I've decided to go on this path. It'll be exactly like this. Life never works out that way. And so you're digging up a lot of emotional baggage for me, but in a good way. And it always helps to kind of think back and make sense of all that. And so along those lines, I like to put my guests on the spot near the end of the interview and ask them about what advice they wish they'd gotten 20 years ago. And it's one of those big, scary questions, but everyone always has an answer. So what do you think, Jake? What advice do you wish you'd received 20 years ago?
20 years ago, I would have been almost 9 years old. So maybe, do you want
Still a
that?
good age to learn.
8 years old. I'll answer the question maybe as if I was like 18, like a little bit older. And I heard this recently, but it's same answer. Like the advice I wish I gotten. The advice is ask her out. And that means everything. And I heard this from a comedian recently, actually, and it just really hit home of like, maybe it's about a girl and you're into her, like ask her out. But maybe it's a job, or maybe it's a new city, or maybe it's a potential client or somebody you want on your podcast, or a neighborhood, or a marathon, or literally anything. You kind of get that feeling of like, I don't want that. Ask her out. Like, just go for it. Do it. And I have been given that advice in a lot of ways. I just wish I started really, really taking it a couple years earlier.
They say, what's the saying about people on their deathbed when you ask them about their regrets? They never regret what they do, they regret what they don't do. And so that's very good advice for all of us at any age to be listening and really absorbing. And so if someone says, I really like what Jake had to say about his entrepreneurial journey and about what his company does with the content marketing, how does someone take the next step with you? How do they know if they're a right fit for your company? And what's the website? What's the call to action?
Yeah, biggest thing would be talk to me. I love talking to founders. And I can always pretty quickly assess, like, is my company the right fit or not? And if not, let me help them find who the right fit is. It might be a different agency that we're connected with. It might be a different individual. It might even just be like, you know what, you can do this on your own. And I'm just always happy to share however I can be valuable. So it's not a like work with me or don't type of thing. LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time as far as writing, sharing thoughts, posting content. And so if anyone just searches my name there, they'll find me. Company is Thursday Labs, and the website is thursdaylabs.co. There's a contact form there. Our portfolio is there. When I first started the agency, I was always at the fault of like not updating my portfolio and website enough, and I do it like once a year. And I swore I would never do that again. So now I'm really anal about it, and I update the website and the portfolio like every other week. So it's pretty much always up to date with recent projects and thoughts and musings and blog posts and all that. So LinkedIn and our website. It's the best place to find me.
Thursdaylabs.co. And Jake, we were talking a lot about how this idea of the funnel, how you're not even problem aware, and then you take a little micro commitment and you go and you visit the website, thursdaylabs.co, and you look at the portfolio, and maybe you get retargeted, or maybe you see some of the things that the company does, and then that person says, now I'm going to fill in that contact form. And at the very least, someone should go to LinkedIn and add you there, because that's another one of those micro commitments, and they can see what you're all about. And then when something that you do, some kind of post you make, gets their attention, then they can move along in the process. And that is Jake Hurwitz on LinkedIn, Jake. Last name is Hurwitz. So Jake Hurwitz on LinkedIn and thursdaylabs.co. So that way, if you're a founder, if you're a startup, you can get the ball rolling there. If you feel like you know you have the guilties about not having content or not doing it correctly, or you're in that danger zone of saying, let me just throw $100,000 at ads today and hopefully it works out. And Jake says, there's a better way. There's a way to get it thought through. There's an alternative to hiring that mid-six-figure marketing person where all they're going to do is try to hire 30 more people. There's a way better way to go about this as far as getting the awareness that your brand and your company needs. And thursdaylabs.co are the people to do it. And Jake Hurwitz on LinkedIn. And thank you very much, Jake, for giving us some really cool insights as far as the work that you do, the content, and then the entrepreneurial mindset that we always need the kind of the fresh material, right? We need the kind of the reinvigoration to in order to get through the day to day. You can't just learn it once. You have to always get the motivation and the new information. So I really appreciate what you had to say today, and I appreciate you too, Jake.
Oh, thanks, my friend. Yeah, this was awesome. Appreciate you having me.